This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 170. Today we talk about how important it is to leverage intent and impact as an emerging or evolving leader, so you're not going to want to miss this one. Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage polarity intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders, and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself.
Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. I am Tracy.
She's crazy, Tracy. And I am crazy Michelle. That's why we're such a good pair.
All right. Two loonies in the bin. Well, you know, It's just fun to be together, isn't it?
It is. It is. Look, if you're watching us, we can touch each other.
Yes.
We're in the studio.
In the studio, having more fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Love this.
I do too. And if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that, Tracy heads west in the winter. We're in Michigan. And so we do a lot of our podcasts apart, but we always are grateful when we're together. So Today we're together and we're going to talk about intent and impact as a leader.
Yeah. What a crazy topic that is. Right? Well, we live with intention. I mean, we try really hard to be intentional about everything we do pretty much. And I think we're having a positive impact.
Yes, we are. And they do go together like peanut butter and jelly, intent and impact.
Yeah, they do.
And we're going to actually talk to you today about how they go together well if you are intentional on how you're managing both of them. So it's going to be a great session. And it's about leadership because every leader wants to have an impact.
Sure.
And being a leader, and they want to be effective. And sometimes our greatest fears in being a leader is I'm going to be an ineffective leader. Right? So it's at time, and we know that, a lot of times we can have good intentions, but we may not be getting the desires that we really want. And there's a reason for that. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we start that, let's define what intent is. So intent is when you have what you have in your mind is a goal. So it really isn't something you can see. Okay, it's invisible. Your own intention is invisible because it's in your mind. And it's when you decide to perform an action and it reflects the type of impact that you want to have and that helps you to create your actions. So it's just setting that intention, we like to say, in your mind of what you want to accomplish. Where impact is more about the results. It's about, putting that intention into action, the reality of the actions that we take.
Yeah. Well, just like, we have an intention to do incredible podcasts and, our impact is the result of that.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is an incredible podcast. So, what is it? What is it about both intent and impact that makes a leader effective? And what is the reality? What happens when you don't have really a dynamic balance between these two?
Yeah. Well, if you're an emerging or evolving leader and you want to make a difference, it's really easy to jump into action. Roll up your sleeves. I'm going to make a difference. And but that can maybe be dangerous if you haven't gotten the lay of the land and done some, listening to people first. Or you could be, have great intention, but then not take action.
Yeah.
Right. And just always have that, it's just not the right time. And maybe I'll do it next year. So you can also put action off.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And, one without the other in either case, right, can result in something that you really don't want.
Yes.
You don't want to experience or that you don't want others to experience. So it's just really kind of getting clear for yourself as a leader what those intentions are. And right now, especially in these really challenging times in healthcare where there's so many things going on, right? Having clarity on your intention and sometimes even just speaking that, right, is just really
We talk
important.
about that a lot.
Yeah.
Speak your intention.
But, the challenge could be as an emerging leader that no one's really taught you to leverage these two, right? If you're new to leadership, you might not really recognize that this is an interdependent pair. So nobody's really kind of clued you into that, but we're here to do that. And if you're like most leaders, you've experienced more of the negative consequences of these two being out of balance, right? You've probably experienced more of the negative results than the positive outcomes of both being together. So
yeah.
We might not have a good role model for it, I guess is what we're saying.
Well, that could be.
Yeah.
That could very well be.
Yeah.
Actually, we kind of know that by listening to leaders out there, right? So actually, you need a way. And it's really about leveraging the tension or the energy between the intent and the impact that can increase the likelihood that your teams will experience the positive outcomes of both. Frequently, if not always. So it is possible. We're here to tell you. And that's actually why we work with healthcare leaders and we introduce them to polarity intelligence so that they can spend as much time on the positive outcomes of intention and the positive outcomes of impact as they can.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what those positive outcomes look like when you are focused on intention and being intentional. So one is that you have clarity, right, on your intention. And that applies to just being in a meeting, having a one-on-one with somebody, right? What is your intention in that interaction? And just being clear on that. Then the other is your thoughts and feelings that you express align with that, right? So it's kind of like say what you mean and mean what you say. Right? So, you feel aligned both in your thoughts and your feelings with what your intention is. The other is that you're integral with your intention. So then that moves from thoughts and feelings to behaviors.
Yes.
So whatever you do is in alignment and you're in integrity and self-integrity with the intention and the actions that you're taking. And then the other is just really that kind of conscious, mindful choice that you're always choosing mindfully and consciously around, what you're saying and what you're doing, how you're expressing yourself and the actions that you're taking.
Yep. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the positive outcomes of impact. So number one, your actions are aligned with your intent. So I had a laugh, Tracy, because I put down in my notes, say what you're going to do and do what you're going to do what you say. So we were kind of thinking alike there.
Of course we are.
But that's really, that alignment is really important to have impact. And then focus is on a shared purpose. You can't do everything by yourself, right? And leaders, you have your team members, you have fellow leaders, we have each other as business partners and friends. So it's put it on the shared purpose and then also engage in taking action to support the intention. And lastly, remain open and accepting when it comes to impact. It may not go the way you think it's going to go, but if you just have that, like everything happens for a reason and your intention is good and you are taking action, be open to other opportunities that come along because that can have a significant impact on impact. How do you like that? Impact on impact.
There we go. Well, but when you think about it too, we are kind of believers that everything happens for a reason. So even if you don't get the impact that you wanted, it can lead you to the greater impact that you want to have, right? So there's always opportunity.
Always.
And I think, one of the things that we do in working with leaders, of course, it's really to understand the interdependence. We've mentioned that already. We leverage the polarity intelligence pillar in our dynamic balance effect framework when we work with leaders around this, really just to understand that this is a polarity, understand how polarities work, understand this isn't about 50-50, it's dynamic, right? So you have to continually evolve. You have to reevaluate your intent sometimes, right? And based on the impact that you're getting and all of those elements, right? So it's really kind of dynamic, and it requires awareness and vigilance. And, that's a big part for leaders. You have to be aware and vigilant in how you're balancing both of these and what the impact actually is based on the intention that you set forth. And it's simultaneous actions that get us the benefits of both that we just talked about, right? So when working with leaders in our coaching program, we work with them on all the different elements in our dynamic balance effect framework. And some of those that help is like meaningful dialogue. So communication is really important when it comes to intent and impact.
Absolutely.
And like I said earlier, just speaking, this is my intention, can have a big difference on the impact that you have as a leader. Values and purpose alignment, that's a part of our personal alignment pillar. And it also includes elements from the mindful choices pillar, as well. So again, having that purpose alignment, the alignment with your values, that's where your intention comes from. Your actions are guided by those. It's kind of the guardrails of your life. And then, of course, healthy relationships is another element that's a part of our polarity intelligence pillar. But that is that alignment to shared purpose, right? So when you set your intention and you're working towards the impact is for that shared purpose, for the shared goals of the organization, the team that you're leading, and keeping that in mind. And then another element of the mindful choice pillar is outcome focus. So we stay focused on what it is that we actually want to achieve, that bigger impact, and keep our attention there versus, on the problems that we're facing. It doesn't mean we don't solve problems, but we also want to keep our focus on that outcome when it comes to intent and impact.
And another one I want to add is strengths.
Oh, yeah.
Because you may not have the impact because you don't have the right strengths to make it happen. And again, that kind of goes back to shared purpose and other team members and leveraging other people's strength to make that impact as well. Just kind of depends on what kind of impact you're trying to make.
Yeah, and when you are managing both, implementing the elements of mindful choices and polarity intelligence, that results in that characteristic of intention.
Yes, it does.
Right. So when you're doing both of those, that is the outcome of it, is leading with intention.
So let's talk a little bit about when you overfocus on one or the other, what some of the negative outcomes can be. If you overfocus on intention, then you can be taking action, but it could be out of alignment with your intention. Just a lot of busy work, a lot of action, but you're not going to get the impact. Or you're focusing on yourself or just keeping it to yourself, right? Another outcome can be you can become disengaged from taking action. So you're not even taking any action, or just closed off, and just not recognizing, again, the greater purpose and being judgmental and closed off and very singular focused.
Yeah. Well, and if you overfocus on impact, here's some of the negative consequences that can occur as well. You can have that lack of clarity. What you're really trying to achieve, right? And that intent. You can also, your thoughts and feelings that you express can also be out of alignment. You might be more reactionary than you are intentional, because you're focused on just having the impact and getting the results that you think you want. And maybe not integral with your behavior. And, the other is, again, like I said, kind of reactive choices, reacting to what's happening in the moment around what's being achieved or not achieved, and not necessarily having that intention to have focus on the shared purpose, have the bigger picture in mind, that type of thing.
Right. So leveraging the tension between intent and impact requires us to really expand our self-awareness, right? How are you being intentional, and how are you taking action according to that intention and being impactful. So it starts with yourself, like everything else, examining your own beliefs, your thoughts, your values, and how they influence your behavior. That's the starting point of tackling this polarity and a lot of other ones.
It is. Yeah.
And just that examination really helps you to move towards that mindful choice that Tracy just spoke of, and use more of a conscious, alert mindset into the decisions that you're making every day. And these elements are explored by our thriving, resilient, unstoppable clients and participants as we work with them in our coaching programs. And they really help it come alive for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. And so an example of that, I was just thinking about this. We have a individual in one of our coaching programs, and when she first started in the coaching program, she really had the objective to live and lead intentionally. I mean, that was one of her goals in participating in the program. And so what I love about how we've been able to observe, she's an executive leader in a healthcare organization. And we've noticed over time that she's been in the program. It doesn't matter what situation she's in, whether she is, working with a colleague that really has a different leadership style and the relationship is a bit challenging, or if she is working with a union and negotiating with a union or negotiating with physicians in their contracts. Doesn't matter what situation she's in. She is always focused on the bigger outcome, the greater purpose, the shared purpose of all, and clearly sets her intention, speaks her intention, is very patient, not afraid to have the difficult conversations or to step in, to be bold when it's called for, if it's in alignment with that bigger, greater shared purpose that they're all trying to get to. And she just leads this way all the time. It's just become a natural pattern for her. It's a beautiful thing to observe.
It is. It's great. And sometimes, because she has shared this with even slowing down, sometimes you have to slow down to make sure your intention is being really lived out and to take the right actions. And we all know how busy things are. And sometimes people just plow ahead. And so I've learned a lot from her with that as well.
Yeah, she's great at really reflecting and getting that clarity before taking the action, having that clear intention before she acts, and, just having that awareness of the impact that she's having in those conversations, in those situations. She's always very aware and open, right, to what's happening and the impact.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we've actually been blessed by knowing many leaders that balance this polarity really well. And we had the opportunity to visit with a colleague that has been a colleague of ours for over 25 years recently too. And she's a master, I would say, at living the intention and impact polarity. And listening to her the other evening when we were visiting with her, I was just really struck with how this, like many polarities, you see progress over time. So while she's also very intentional about what she wants to do and her thinking, the impact she's having, you can see it happen over time. So she was sharing with us that when she first started in a significant leadership role with an organization, she had one direct report. And 3 years later, she has over 100. So that just takes time, but it's a growing team and accomplishing phenomenal things in the field of healthcare. So she's another one, I think, that really manages impact and intention and impact well.
Yeah, she does. She does. And, when you can leverage this, your leadership is just so much different, right? Like things are easier, I think, right? When you balance both of these. And so it's a core leadership skill, I think, and something for especially new, emerging, and evolving leaders to grasp onto. So
maybe think of this week. How well am I balancing my intent and impact? Something to reflect on after today's podcast.
Yeah, and if you're not having the impact that you want, step back and think about what has been my intention. And if I'm, how can I get better alignment between the actions and the impact? If you have a strong intention, but you're not getting that result, right? Really be open to that feedback of how you are impacting. But that's how we all grow and learn. We all, right, can can do that and receive the intention, just to receive the feedback so you can continue to, get the positive outcomes of both of these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, wow, that's it for another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. And we're just so grateful that you're here and listening in to this conversation. And, if you're a leader and you're motivated to be the best that you can, despite everything that's happening around you right now, then join our early interest list for our Leadership Survival Bootcamp that's happening. And you can go to our website, missinglogic.com/new-events to sign up on the early interest list. And we'd be happy to welcome you in. We've got some strategies that we believe can really help you, especially surviving these incredibly challenging times. And if you're a leader who has a team of leaders that you're working with, that you really want to help them evolve and move beyond surviving to thriving, being resilient and unstoppable leaders, then you can reach out to Michelle and I via email. It's Tracy@missinglogic.com and Michelle@missinglogic.com. We'd be happy to talk with you about some of the different programs that we have that can support your leaders to be true, thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leaders. And follow us on LinkedIn at Missing Logic LLC and other social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter.
Yes.
And you can also get access to that and to sign up or subscribe to that on our website at missinglogic.com/newsletter.
Yeah. Hear from us every week.
Yeah. Keep you in the know what we're up to.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Stay healthy and safe. Bye.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.